Dragonling, Chapter 10. Derek stood by the entrance to the cave. A few ashes were all that remained of the pile of weapons. The dragons were still cautious, but they had allowed the villagers to return safely to the Twin Rocks. Derek was sure that friendship would come in time. He turned to Xantor. A great sadness filled his heart. "You've grown already, little friend," he said. "Soon you will be the greatest great blue of them all." Xantor thrummed happily. "You stay with your new mother now," Derek said, "and maybe we'll see each other again someday." Derek started toward the Twin Rocks. Xantor scuffled after him. "No," said Derek firmly. "You have to stay." Xantor stopped obediently and stood watching until Derek reached the ridge. "Rock?" Xantor cried out. Derek looked back and waved. Then he turned and hurried forward, blinking back tears. Just as he reached the group, there was a flutter and a thump, and then Xantor rushed up from behind and stuffed his head under Derek's shirt. "Thrum, thrum, thrum," he said. Derek giggled and pushed the dragonling away. "Will you cut that out?" he said. The villagers laughed. "Looks like you've adopted yourself a dragon," said Zyla. Derek's father snorted. "No son of mine is going to play nursemaid to any dragon." Derek looked at Xantor. Clearly, the dragonling wanted to come home with him. And Derek wanted nothing more. If only he could convince his father. "Father?" he began. His father eyed him suspiciously. "I was thinking," Derek went on, his stomach fluttering. "The dragons could be our friends. They could light fires for cooking. They can help plow. They can even take us flying. I flew in the Great Blue's pouch. It was wonderful." In his growing excitement, Derek did not notice his father's eyes growing rounder and his face growing redder. "Enough," he boomed. "By the twin moons of Zoriak, what madness will you dream up next?" He whirled and stormed away. Derek stared after him, his heart as heavy as stone. His mother put a hand on his shoulder and smiled. "Change is never easy, my son," she said. Your father has come a long way today. Give him time." Zyla and Bodak stood nearby. Derek saw Zyla press Bodak's arm and whisper something into his ear. They murmured together. Then Bodak nodded gravely. "Your words are not easy to accept, young Derek," he said, "but they have much wisdom. Bring the orphan along. Zyla and I will care for him until your father is ready to listen." Derek's heart leaped with joy, but he bowed his head humbly. "Thank you, Bodak," he said. "You honor me." "And I honor my brother as well." Derek looked up. Klep was standing before him, holding out the dragon claw necklace. "This belongs to you," he said. Derek was confused. But why?" he asked. "You earned it." Klep shook his head. "I just got lucky," he said. "It took true courage to do what you did today." Derek's heart swelled with pride at Klep's praise. He took the prize and held it up. Somehow it brought him no joy now. He heard Xantor whimper beside him. Slowly, he lowered his hand again. How could he return the gift to Klep without appearing ungrateful? Klep seemed to understand. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "it really belongs to the dragons." Together, Derek and Klep dug a hole and buried the necklace between the twin rocks. Then they stood for a moment side by side, looking out over the valley, peaceful and still now in the late afternoon shadows. Xantor wiggled in between them. Thrum, 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 he said. And boys and girls, that is the last chapter of Dragonling. If you did like the story, it does continue. It's a series, and I would recommend it highly.